You're listening to ShefF1. We're broadcasting live, but maybe for the last time, because we've got some exciting news on the way. I'm Rudy Blank-Brown. Joining me is Seb Alston and Amy Hamerslagh. Let's just figure out whose microphone is whose. Seb, hello.
Hello.
And Amy, hello.
Hello.
Is that right? That sounds about right.
Yeah.
We've done it right.
Wow.
Fantastic. That is a rarity here on ShefF1. But yes, as I said before, broadcasting live, possibly for the last time, because we're not going anywhere. Don't worry. Tune in every week, Thursday, 6 till 7. We'll still be here. What was that fell over? That pair of headphones. Okay, this is why we're pre-recording now. So we're going to be from the past speaking to you at the same time, as I said before. But yeah, we're going to start pre-recording episodes for the sake of convenience and as well better listening quality. We really do have a passion for sort of sports broadcasting, and we want to really make the most of the facilities we've got here at university and the platform that we're starting to build with ShefF1 already. So do follow us on Instagram. We've now got an Instagram account at ShefF1 Podcast. Seb has done some excellent work making that nice and pretty. We'll add more and more content to it over the course of time. I think over the winter break we should expect some more content.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and there's some videos and things like that. So.
Yeah, videos previewing the sort of new episodes coming out, and then we are hopefully going to be working on a Spotify account because not to say we've outgrown Mixcloud, but we can't really access our episodes very easily.
Yeah.
Without having to wait 3 to 5 working months. So, we're going to have a Spotify account sooner rather than later. But that means no music, unfortunately. So there are going to be some changes around here. But definitely keep an eye out over the content over the winter break because we're going to churn out lots and lots of new things. Hopefully some interviews. Fingers crossed. We're going to DM loads of drivers and random people in the F1 world, and hopefully we get some interviews on here because that is something that we're all very keen to try. But enough admin, enough housekeeping. Let's talk proper F1 now. But first, Seb, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Watched the Brawn GP documentary, all 4 hours of it already, which is pretty silly. But...
No, tell us about that, because I don't have Disney Plus, so I'm going to have to find an illegal way to watch that. So what was it? Was it any good? Is it worth my time?
I thought it was really, really good.
Really? Okay, yeah. That's good. That's good.
It was, the fact I was able to watch 4 hours of it basically in a row. It was really good. A lot of stuff that I didn't know about the season. Obviously, I knew quite a lot about it anyway, but there was still quite a lot behind the scenes, things like that. Everyone that was on it spoke really well apart from Buddy Eccleston, but whatever. But even that was still interesting to hear from, and it was just really, really interesting. A lot of views from Rubens Barrichello. And yeah, it was just it's very enjoyable watch, especially if you're into F1, and even if you're not into F1, I think it's something worth watching. So yeah, I think I'd recommend it wholeheartedly.
What was Keanu Reeves like as the presenter?
He was okay. It could have been anyone else.
Okay.
It could have been me doing it. It could have been you doing it, and it would have been exactly the same. So yeah, it was. I don't know. It was just there for the name, I think. Really.
No, fair. It's a random name to bring in as well. I mean, he turned up to some F1 races after the Brawn documentary was announced, so it seems as though he didn't reach out to them. They more reached out to him. But why Keanu Reeves? I wonder. Has he got? I think motorbikes. That seems to ring a bell. I think he's into his motorbikes. But I might be just talking out my backside here. Amy, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right. I tried watching the F1 golf thing.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I did turn it off. I think all the presenters were unbearable. We should have been there.
Exactly.
And then when they were doing the preview of all the drive, this is when I turned off. It was only not long into it, less than 10, 20 minutes into it. It was when they're sort of previewing all the drivers and who's on whose team, and then all the cars are going past, but they've got V10 engines for some reason, clearly trying to over exaggerate how dramatic and what it all is. Very sort of Drive to Survive materialistic type of exaggeration. But did you finish that all 2 hours and 40 odd minutes or whatever it was?
I tuned in about midnight, and I seen that obviously it started at 11, so I started it from the beginning ready to watch it, and I got about 20 minutes in and I was like, I might try and watch this again.
It's quite quick. You're quite quick to remember that it is a golf tournament.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about golf.
No, it's not very interesting.
Well, the problem for me is I actually do quite like watching golf, as boring as that is. But from what I saw clips of it, they're like running around and stuff.
Yeah, it's challenges. So like the first one was who can do it in the quickest amount of time, and they had to drive the golf buggies, and like obviously had to be really quick. And it weren't just golf; it was challenges as well.
Yeah, but that sounds like a YouTube video,
Literally.
like a Netflix subscription for that. You know what I mean?
2 hours of that. that as well. I mean, maybe 10 minutes I might be able to put up with, but if it had actually been just a golf tournament and you actually got to see it, you know what, I probably wouldn't have tuned in because I did forget it was happening, but I would have, maybe watched it back a bit.
I'd rather a paddle tournament because they all seem to be for paddle, and like there's the tennis at obviously break point, so I would have rather that than golf, but no, it was golf.
Well, they obviously all bounce off each other very well. If you look back to lockdown and the virtual GPs, I always thought they were so entertaining with the drivers, all sort of in a Discord call doing the Twitch streams. That was really fun to watch.
Especially
back in the day.
Charles, Lando, George, and Alex.
Was it the Twitch quartets?
Yes.
They had that was really good. Yeah, it's always nice to see the drivers sort of outside their natural habitat doing something with each other. Yeah. I think a charity football match has to happen at some point.
Yes.
Because they do.
You see the things like Monaco and things like
that. It's always before.
Yeah.
And it's Pierre and Charles.
Carlos,
Sebastian, Kimi Räikkönen did it one time.
But it's always the Ferrari drivers or the French drivers.
Yeah, Giovinazzi turned up to one, I think, as well. But
I would have liked the Netflix Cup format if it had been only the F1 drivers doing golf, and then say the golfers driving in like a karting race or something like that. Or a golf buggy racing, although maybe put like a bit quicker,
like ramps or something like that.
Yeah, and then the tennis, you could combine that as well. Some sort of I don't know, even if it was paddle, table tennis, something like that. That would have been more interesting, I think, than with the sort of mess that it was. I feel like I heard some stuff like even like the final and things like that, it wasn't really broadcast very well. And
the quality, I mean, I know it's Netflix's sort of first live thing, but the quality of it was really poor. Like, it was very jumpy and the sound wasn't up to scratch most of the time.
And I saw that a lot of it was focused on the first group rather than the second, because they weren't playing at the same time.
Yeah.
But it was basically just focused on Carlos and Lando, whereas there are people that do want to see Alex and Pierre. So so yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a mess, but it's the first time, so I guess it can only go up if they actually do it again.
I think they should change up the sports a bit. A football thing could work out quite well. With a certain partnership with a team or something like that.
Yeah. The Sunderland ones, that's
I love the
that
Sunderland
is Netflix.
one.
But some, obviously it'd be a bit random, Sunderland and F1.
Yeah.
That is odd. I suppose they've got the thing with Tottenham.
Is that on there?
It's not on Netflix. That's a Prime thing, but they have got the thing, the F1 karting agreement.
Oh, yeah.
So they have got that, I suppose. So maybe the Tottenham and F1 collab, but then
maybe F1 TV do it.
Perhaps. Or like all the Red Bull teams, they've done football stuff in the past.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Terrible crossbar challenge effort, if memory serves me correct. But we'll talk about what Max Verstappen is good at now, and that is Formula One. Very smooth transition there. We've got the Las Vegas GP coming up this weekend, the third and final American race. Will Logan Sargeant score any more points, Seb?
No, surprisingly. He could do. I would feel this is one of his biggest chances.
Yeah.
Especially, obviously, we'll talk about it in a bit. Williams is straight line speed, and that's how the circuit, and obviously the incidents that could take place. We'll see. So. You never know. I mean, I feel like I'm being a lot more optimistic about Logan Sargeant in recent episodes. It's a bit weird, a bit worrying.
I think we've sort of been forcing it, really, the Logan Sargeant optimism, but it has kind of flipped. Amy and I have begun to sort of, recognise not the incompetence. That seems a bit of a stretch, but the limitations of Logan Sargeant and his season. And you've certainly warmed to him. I think since he scored the point. I think
there's less pressure on my prediction.
Is it a P11 as well? Last time out in
he just missed out, didn't he?
Just missed out on points, which is interesting to see.
And that would have been his first genuine point.
Yeah. But obviously, who was it that got the time penalty back in US and A that got him? Was it?
It was
the Charles and Lewis.
Yeah, the two DNFs.
Yes, the two DNFs. That's it. The disqualifications for the floor, was it?
Yeah.
DNF, DSQ, whatever. Yeah, it all goes hand in hand. But yeah, let's talk about the track itself. It is an interesting, it's not very an interesting layout, to be honest. It's just a bunch of straights and then maybe one heavy braking zone. That's about it. And of course, the track temperatures. We sort of spoke about this briefly at the end of last week's episode. It was last week's episode, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, I was just baffled I was here, that's all. But yeah, we've got this sort of issue that they didn't even think about. That Ross Brawn admitted that they didn't think about the track temperature at stupid o'clock at night in the middle of the desert. That did not sort of come to their mind during the negotiations. How this could be the coldest F1 race in history, which is mind-boggling. But with the money that's going into it, sure they can maybe manufacture some sort of way to heat the track, maybe, if that's safe. I'm not sure. But, how the tyres are going to stay so cold with so many straight lines and stuff like that. The cars might get warm being in the slipstreams of each other, but the tyres are going to be freezing. And so that could mean that there is an ice rink at the one sort of overtaking spot that the track has to offer. Amy, do you think it could be a bit of a crazy race, or are we just going to have a load of following?
No, I think it'll be a good race now, and I don't know, especially if it's for the right reasons, because is it really going to be fun seeing everyone DNF? But I think the start is going to be hard.
It depends who wins.
Well, yeah. It's definitely a race I'm excited for, because we're coming into it. No one's ever driven there. There's no experience. The teams don't know exactly how to manage the cars. It's FP1, FP2, FP3. Obviously, it's a big event. It's more an event than sport. It's more about Las Vegas than F1 this weekend. And I think it's anyone's race to win. If that's me being optimistic, then that's me. But I'm quite excited for it, because maybe this is actually genuinely the first race that Max and Logan Sargent have the same experience. and like, I'm not saying Logan Sargent's going to win it, but I think especially with the top teams like Ferrari and McLaren, they've definitely got more of a chance here, because I think as well, you've got to talk about how late the races are to obviously accompany European time zones.
I mean, it's crazy. I think the jet lag, Fernando Alonso was talking about the jet lag, not just for Las Vegas, but in F1 in general. It's not sort of spoken about enough, and how it really does take a toll on the drivers. And then you're forcing them to race at stupid times. I mean, that also is dangerous, especially when the cars are lacking grip. How can you trust a bunch of sleep-deprived, they're people at the end of the day. So a bunch of sleep-deprived people behind the wheel of cars that can go up to, however 100 kilometers an hour. You've got it could mean that there could be some serious crashes here. I know it's their job to drive these cars, and it sounds like I'm sort of saying the obvious here, but at the end of the day, they are still human beings. And so if they're going to be tired, it's obviously going to be much, as we saw in Qatar. Obviously, it was more fatigue than sort of general drowsiness. But they sort of go hand in hand a little bit. There's synonymity. I think that's the word. But it could. I mean, it is another one of them races where money talks, because if you look at the event itself, none of the locals, I mean, whoever lives in Las Vegas, none of the locals are very pleased about the event being here. It's sort of causing huge disruption to, all the major road networks, because obviously it is a street circuit. And then I saw a video, this bloke, have you heard of him before, the Simon Wilson guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he is in Vegas at the moment. I think he must be trying to get in there for free or something like that, because that's his type of channel. Have you heard of him before?
Is it the one on TikTok, and he's been complaining about the bridges being covered?
Yes, the bridges being covered. So any excuse for anyone, or any opportunity for people to try and watch the race from any point of the track, obviously because it's it's in a city, without a ticket. There's this public pedestrian bridges that are being taped over, and again it's causing huge disruption to the life in Las Vegas, obviously one of the busiest, if not the busiest city in the world. And is it practical to race there, Amy? Is it sort of
No, it isn't. I do think it'll be a really good weekend. Obviously, we already seen the opening ceremony last night, and it did look cool. But my dad's literally just sent me something about what Max Verstappen said. He said it's 99% share, 1% sport.
Yes, he's not very entertained, is he?
And especially for drivers like that who are there to race and there to win, it isn't. And obviously the practicality of it all, with the time zones, with the coldness, I think is absolutely ridiculous that the F1 management didn't realise how cold it was going to be.
Yeah,
because
it's mental.
Number one fact about a desert is, if it's nighttime in a desert, it's cold. It's cold, and that's just, and I just don't understand how they thought, oh yeah, November, it'll be nice and hot, we're in a desert. It doesn't work like that. So I just think they've not thought about it. However, it will be an incredible event, and I'm definitely excited for it. But we were talking to my mum and dad, and we were talking about a 21st present, and we were talking about potentially Vegas as a big
Wowza.
But the prices of it as well is just ridiculous, just for general admission. And that is not even like a seat or anything like that. And I was like, I'd rather you spend if you're going to spend that money on me on a European race, and we could get great
like
grandstand tickets
like
or literally or something like an experience, like it's just the money for it's ridiculous. And
you never know, it could be some sort of agreement with the casinos, fans can only buy tickets if they start gambling, you know what I mean, they can only afford it if they win big in the casino.
You've got hotel packages, and it's like you can have 70 people stay in a rooftop hotel, but it's like over £1 million. So
that puts Miami to shame.
Honestly, I've seen some of the prices for the packages, and they're ridiculous. It's not for F1 fans. This is for just celebrities.
Definitely.
That is definitely the case.
No, it certainly seems like a PR stunt. This obsession with driving F1 cars down the Las Vegas Strip. Daniel Ricciardo was saying, "Oh yeah, it'll be the greatest straight in F1 history." It sort of, to me, feels like an F1 race around Las Vegas. It sort of feels like, if we can get a race around there, It's like, we can drive an F1 car upside down in a tunnel. It's that kind of vibe it's giving off. It's not for the sake of a race. It's for the sake of PR. It's for the sake of trying to draw anybody in. It seems like, not like a cry for help, but it seems a bit desperate. F1 sort of reached a high that it hasn't, in terms of popularity, that maybe it hasn't really seen before. Are they sort of panicking, Seb? Are they sort of trying anything they can to, be greedy with viewers? Like, what is...
Yeah, I would think so, because I think, especially F1 in America, I think honestly, it's not... It had a peak in about 2021 or so.
It is still secondary to IndyCar in popularity, as far as I'm aware.
But it's also sort of gone down.
Yeah.
It's not carrying on the momentum that I think Formula One would have expected, and sort of around the time that they announced this, and the plans obviously were for it. So I think now it's desperate to make the most of it, because it's 10 years of this, which is crazy that they've already signed 10 years of something.
Do you reckon they will see out the contract?
It all depends on how good it is. I think we could be a week's time we could be thinking that was an amazing event. What a race!
Yeah, maybe
so exciting, because I remember like Baku before, and that was there was not a lot of hype for that. People thought it was going to be really boring, and I mean maybe it was a couple of times, but now everyone...
But Baku's delivered some of the greatest races.
But it's delivered, and you look at the circuit layout of Baku and Las Vegas. I know Baku's obviously got a little bit more, Sector 1, Sector 2 is a little bit more streety, a bit more Monaco-esque, but it is similar in a sense.
Yeah, but there are overtaking opportunities far more frequently around Baku. The 90-degree corners at the end of the big straights do mean that you can make some interesting... Daniel Ricciardo overtook 3 cars into turn 1 at Baku a few years ago. It's certainly a very easy circuit to overtake around, and how wide it is as well. I mean, Vegas is also fairly wide. From what I've seen, it's mostly been from the F1 game, to be honest. I've not even been playing it. It's just the sort of content I've been watching. Yeah. Did you see the stream that they did? Charles Leclerc was doing like an F1 qualifying thing, and it was just this excruciating bunch of, not to, bash on Americans here, but, clearly the people that just got in for entertainment rather than expertise here.
Someone's going, oh my God, he's not even got the green line in front of him.
He's not got the green line in front of him, dude.
He's not going to have that in real life on Sunday, so I'd hope so.
No, it is certainly all for show so far. I mean, that opening ceremony thing, the similarities between that and the Hunger Games was crazy.
Have you seen the sphere and the saying whenever someone DNFs, we put them up like it's the Hunger Games?
Haven't they banned certain colours on that sphere as well?
Really?
Yeah,
red. So how are you banning red as a colour on a big screen for F1? I mean, that is the colour of F1 pretty much, but
But I don't know. That'll be really interesting to see how that is. Yes. One thing I was going to say about the weather is I actually looked at the forecast and what it was.
It's not raining, is it?
No. Unfortunately, in my eyes, I think unfortunately it isn't actually as cold as I thought it was going to be in early predictions.
Oh, right.
There were predictions that it was going to be the coldest, and it could be like 5 degrees or something like that. It's about 15 degrees or so.
Oh, right, that's fine then.
Which is, I think, it's warmer than Eiffel 2020, which was
very cold.
Was pretty,
But the air temperature and track temperature are two completely different things.
I think also it is... There's no support events that weekend either, which is... And obviously it's not a track that's ever been raced on by a Formula One car before, so it's not like it's not newly, a new circuit. It's not new layout sort of thing or whatever. But it's going to be really tricky. Yeah, it's going to be really tricky for that. You think that one quali lap or that restarts after the safety car, the start.
Yes, the start.
It's going to be really, really tricky to get those tyres warmed up. And I did see something from Alex Albon saying that, in quali, it could take up to 4 tyre prep laps.
4 installation laps. And then your tyres are gone at that point.
And that's ridiculous. And that could be really exciting, though. Because
it could be really exciting, but it also, it's dangerous. It is dangerous.
But that's exciting.
I suppose so.
I think from a viewer's perspective, it's just exciting, and we think there's so much safety in terms of the car and things like that we haven't seen really huge incident. We haven't seen a driver really like miss a race other than Daniel Ricciardo breaking his wrist. Yeah, in it feels like quite a long time. So I'm not too worried about the dangers in terms of someone dying or something like that. I feel like that's very unlikely.
That would be. I mean, I know it's a bit insensitive to say, but if someone does pass away this weekend, that would be
awful.
Crazy.
Yeah, that would be.
Not that it wouldn't be less awful around anywhere else, but there's certain
how damaging that would
exactly.
be.
It would be. Yeah, I think it'd be particularly bad.
And the amount of spectators, surely they're going to have to make it so safe, anyways, because you don't want to be touching anyone or affecting anyone. Of
course.
But that would be damaging for F1.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so for me, I do want chaos. And that's why I'm so excited about this. I wasn't hugely excited.
Controlled chaos. Controlled and safe chaos, you know?
As long as I was injured, I want absolute carnage.
Have you seen the video of the Mercedes car going around it last year? And it was
doing the donuts?
Not even just the donuts. It was going round and it was slipping like a baby Bambi on skates.
Yeah. That was with Lewis behind the wheel as well, wasn't it? Which is worrying if he's struggling that much. Although that car was a bit of a dog, so it might have just been the car.
And maybe it's been resurfaced. Who knows?
Worrying or promising?
Concerning.
I look at it and I think what some of my favourite F1 races. When there are crashes, Max Verstappen
has not DNF'd.
going into the wall. Like how brilliant would that be?
I mean, these all, street circuits like Jeddah. That mistake he made in qualifying 2021, that could happen again, and that is that is something we do want to see, a champion slip up completely. I mean, obviously it won't be quite as dramatic as he's not in the title fight with Lewis anymore. But someone like a Lando Norris, this is a really good opportunity for him to take his first race win in F1 this weekend.
But you think what's another really exciting moment, one of the most exciting moments in my eyes in F1, no, not F1 history, but Lewis locking up in Baku. Yeah. That was incredible. That's the sort of thing that we could see this weekend, just out of nowhere. One mistake and it could be your entire race over. And it's not like Monaco where, there could be an incident or two, but it's not going to, it's not that likely. This weekend, it feels like it's really likely. Yeah. And it's a street circuit. It's just, I'm so excited for it, which is really weird because I sort of got, pulled into the sort of thing about it being, it's not a great layout. And I sort of thought, it's going to be kind of boring and things like that. But as I'm getting closer to it, I feel like the feeling of unknown around it is, I don't know, it's getting me. You are selling it very well. Selling it very well. Sign me up, F1.
Get Seb on the Netflix cut. But it's you could say, I think if you speak about the same passion, you get me to watch that. So it's,
I will be getting up for it. Like it's qualifying and the race is 8 a.m. isn't it? Or is
I think the race is at 6.
I thought qualifying was like 4, wasn't it?
I was getting up at 8. I'm going to wake up and, oh my God, Lando Norris is his first race win and I would have missed it.
Yeah, no, it's one of them. I don't mind waking up early for F1 races, as long as they're good. Yeah. I remember waking up for an Australia race when it wasn't the first race of the season, so it didn't have the same excitement. An Australia race, that is a tough watch.
Especially that red flag this season, the Australia race.
Yeah, whenever there's a red flag and it's really early.
Last year.
Oh my word! Yes, that was so hard. I am prone to nodding off as well, which is really bad. But I shouldn't really admit that when I'm doing a show about talking about F1. Oh yeah, nodding off during the races. But no, we've all done it, haven't we? Please. Yeah. Okay, good.
So Zuka during the red flag, I was like, I'll have a little, lie down. Yeah. Again. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, okay, I've just missed. Yeah, no,
that was the same. That was the same when Max won the championship, and I woke up. Oh, he's champion? What? Like they got all the maths were really weird as well. Like I was just confused by it. But yeah,
I feel like I'm too excited though for this one. I feel like I'm so excited for it that I think I'm gonna get out of bed, so I can't fall asleep.
Yeah. I mean, I think I might just firm it and stay up. I'm working anyway that night, so I could just not in the morning. I mean, I'll be done at like 10, 11.
Yeah,
and then just stay up anyway. So see if that works.
I'm planning on going out Saturday night, so I'm hoping to get in and just stay up.
Las Vegas GP afters. I mean, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
But we'll cut to a little break now because I think we're running out of Vegas topic really. I mean we got predictions coming up in the second half of the show, but we'll go from Vegas to Chicago now. Here's the Blues Brothers. That was a little bit longer than anticipated. That was the Blues Brothers. This is ShefF1. We've got about 20 minutes left of the broadcast. We've done plenty of Las Vegas Grand Prix preview. We'll do some predictions now and then do the more separate stuff from that afterwards. Who do we think's going to win? Because I genuinely think Lando Norris has a decent chance this weekend, Seb.
Oh, I mean, I don't want to say Max Verstappen because it's just,
Yeah, let's sort of exclude Max Verstappen unless you do genuinely think that no one else has a single chance. But yeah.
I'm going to go for Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz. Amy, with your Ferrari cap, are you going to agree with that or are you going to go with the other Ferrari driver?
Got the number 16 on the hat, so I'm going to go with the other Ferrari driver, Charles Leclerc. Just think he's been having a lot of bad luck recently, a lot of DNSs, and I think it's going to finally come from this weekend. I think he's definitely going to get pole. That is 100.
You're saying that right now. You're going to put pen to paper and say he's getting pole. I could put money on
he's getting pole.
You're going to put money on it?
Yeah.
Oh. No. Okay.
£2.
Vegas gambling.
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, should we right here, right now, bit of online gambling on ShefF1? No, right. Let's move away before we get in trouble. But yeah,
please gamble responsibly.
Gamble responsibly. Viva Las Vegas. Seb, you were saying just off air then that you think Haas is that the same headset that's fallen off again? Sorry. Right, moving on. Haas might have some decent pace this weekend. I'll let you collect yourself and then Haas. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking about obviously they're across the season, their big, downfall has basically been their tyre degradation. In race, because in qualifying, we've seen Hülkenberg in Q3 a few times. Magnussen, he hasn't been quite on the pace of Hülkenberg, but he has been up there a few times. It's just in the race, they fall away so quickly, and their tyres just, whatever I can't remember his name. Team principal
Gunther
Steiner. Yeah. He was saying that they just can't work out why their tyres are falling away so quickly. But obviously, we've talked about the track and the temperatures at Las Vegas this weekend, and how I said about Albon saying potentially 4 installation laps and things like that. Well, Haas, they're so hard on their tyres. This could be the weekend for if it is, cold and it's really hard to get tyres up to temperature.
I was going to say, in qualifying, this could be a huge benefit.
It could be a huge benefit for them. And we know Hülkenberg is really good over one lap. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him in Q3 and potentially in the race. The race starts a little bit earlier than qualifying, so it could make it a little bit of damage in temperature. But
could you imagine a Nico Hülkenberg podium at Las Vegas?
That would be incredible.
I mean, in the spirit of Las Vegas, I'm going to look on Bet365 now and see what the odds are for a Nico Hülkenberg podium. Just in the spirit of Las Vegas. If I can actually find it,
I do think that they could have a good weekend, and it's crucial. It's crucial that they are obviously it's a sort of home race for them, not quite home race, but it's home country race, and there's so much on the line for them. They're one of the teams with most on the line because P10 would be awful for them in the constructors. It'd be a really disappointing year for them, and it's so close and around them that any points matter a lot. So I think they could be my sort of good surprise of the weekend. Amy, do you have a good surprise of the weekend?
Oh, I think Charles Leclerc is my good surprise. Maybe Williams. I just think I don't know. Basically, I'm going to talk about Ferrari here, but I think with this track, it's very similar to Singapore, to Monza style. And when you look back at obviously their races in them places, obviously Carlos Sainz getting the first non-Red Bull victory this whole season in Singapore and Monza, they were fighting for third and fourth quite competitively. I think this is where it's really going to benefit them. I was watching an interview today between Max and Charles, and and they were asking Max, could potentially, Charles Leclerc be able to beat him over one lap? Because obviously it takes a lot longer, I felt, for the Red Bull to warm its tyres up, and it's obviously going to take even longer for this. So I think over the space of one lap where Ferrari's tyres have been getting way too hot, and that's why they've got no race pace whatsoever.
Yeah.
However, over one lap, that is really going to help them. So I think that's why it's going to help them ultimately in qualifying, but also in the race. It's because it's colder, and it's going to eventually help the tyres to stay, stronger for a longer time. So I think they're going to have the race pace as well as quali pace, and I'm rooting for Ferrari this weekend.
I think they are similar in that sense to Haas. Obviously, they do share a lot of components, but I do think that it will help them over the race. And their qualifying in Monza was really quick. They were really quick over one lap. And Singapore, I think it was the last street circuit we went to, and obviously they were really impressive there. So I think there are a lot of good signs for them. I think they definitely could be a good surprise. One team I think that aren't going to do very well are Alpine. I think in Brazil, I think they ran their rear wing and in a way that so they had a really good top speed, which they don't usually have. Alpine.
No, Alpine in their sort of straight line speed.
They're usually, you look at Monza, they were the slowest team in the straight line speed. Whereas in Brazil, they really compromised the corners to be the quickest team, which was surprising to see. But I think that obviously all the teams are going to be running low downforce this weekend. So I think that their engine this weekend is really going to come.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more crucial this weekend than in Brazil, where I think that it was sort of not a fluke that they were the quickest team in straight line speed, because it was set up, but I think it was just so different to the other teams that I think it was sort of a false hope that they now suddenly have this really good straight line speed. So I think that they could really struggle. I don't think they'll be as bad as they have been in Baku, for instance, where they were just genuinely basically the slowest team.
I have to say, Bet365 does agree with you here. Of course, other gambling apps are available. Please gamble responsibly. But both drivers to finish on the podium. Not both of them together, but I mean one or the other. It's 200 to 1. For Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. They are
would be crazy to
be the second lowest odds, and there are 6 drivers coming in at 300 to 1. Can anyone throw some names at me? Logan Sargent is one of them.
Daniel Ricciardo
is not. He comes in at 125 to 1 to finish on the podium, although his teammates...
That's pretty good.
His teammate Yuki Tsunoda comes in at 300 to 1 to finish on the podium.
I guess it's the hype around Daniel being in Vegas.
Yeah.
Might have a bang on that, mate.
Yeah, maybe. But then...
I wouldn't waste it.
Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou coming at 300 to 1. And then both Haas drivers as well. So they do not feel as though that Haas could have a pretty decent weekend.
Who are they saying best to win other than Max Verstappen?
So Max Verstappen comes in at 1 to 6, so negative odds. Same with Lando Norris, actually. He comes in at 1 to 2. And then Charles Leclerc is the third most likely to finish on the podium, coming in at 11 to 8. Looking at it here, there's no really weird odds. Alex Albon is, I think that's the 10th most likely driver to finish on the podium or something like that, which is crazy. 100 to 1 odds. Which I'd maybe whack a quid on that.
Yeah, because it's very similar to Monza, I was just saying. And obviously, when Williams were at Monza, you had that contest with the two McLarens. It was only for 6th, 7th position, but Lando Norris couldn't get past him.
No.
So
that's the thing. Alex Albon's racecraft is actually really impressive. The way he can defend when his car is obviously so much slower than the ones behind. You look at Belgium. Anytime he's driven a Williams round Belgium, his car is so quick in the straights. Anywhere else on the track, he's so susceptible and so he runs the risk of being overtaken very easily. But his defensive driving capabilities are really impressive. And of course, his time management as well. He's one of them. If you look back to Australia, what was it, 56 laps on the hard tyre?
Yeah, start of last year.
Something like that. Start of last year. Was it last year?
I think so.
Yeah, it was.
This year.
It was this year, wasn't it?
Was it?
Like April?
I thought it was start of last year. I thought it was second race of last season.
Oh, someone go to VAR on that. But either way, he did do it. He made the hards last all the race bar 1 lap. And so that could also mean that Alex Albon is in for a decent result this weekend, combined with the Williams straight line speed. Obviously, the tyre management is going to be extremely difficult, as we've said earlier in the broadcast. Any surprise DNS? Any surprise shocks? Maybe did you see one of the drivers, maybe someone more experienced, making a mistake?
Max Verstappen.
You think Max will retire? Are you genuinely saying that, or do you just want that to happen?
No, I think it's got to happen at some point. There is no way
you can't go a whole race, whole season.
Even
sorry,
just his things goes down. His engine reliability.
I mean, to be fair, Lewis went. I think it was a couple of years that Hamilton went without retiring, or that might have just been on his own accord rather than including mechanical failures as well. But Lewis Hamilton went a good long while without not completing a race. So who knows?
Well, Alexander Albon last Australian race, so 2023, only went 6 laps, so it would have been 22.
Oh yeah, that is right. We definitely talked about that on the radio as well, which is really bad. But Alex Albon could, bet 365 fancy his chances, so why shouldn't we?
I think Mercedes are going to have a shocker again.
A shocker?
Yeah. I just can't see them adapting well to this track. I don't think the car suits it. I think that McLaren and Ferrari are going to be so ahead of them that they won't be able to catch up. And I think you're going to potentially see teams like Aston Martin, who had a great race in Brazil. That's right. Alonso got on the podium, didn't he?
Yeah. Brazil, yes, he did.
So I think you're going to see teams who are probably not always better than Mercedes being better than them, and I think it's just going to be frustrating for obviously George and Lewis. And I think Abu Dhabi could be a different story, but I can't see them having a good race here.
We could be in for a George Russell disaster class this weekend.
What I was thinking.
That is possible for sure. But we'll move away from Vegas now, because I did suggest this as a very sort of I like to go on tangents here on ShefF1, and of course plenty of celebrities are going to be at the Las Vegas race, and of course back across the pond over here we've got I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here coming to our TV screens again very soon, and the celebrities have been announced. Now we won't go into the specifics of that, because there could be some strong words about particular candidates on there, but with that coming out very soon, I thought I'd ask Seb and Amy, if you were to put all 20 drivers in the jungle, who comes out on top, who doesn't do very well? I mean, who's your winner, Amy? Because you seem to be very passionate about the show.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh. Yeah.
Sorry.
That seems like a boring answer, but it's probably the correct one.
He
really,
goes in.
it?
He's Australian. It's filmed in Australia.
Yeah, true.
He gives everything a go, like he does in Formula One. He goes in any car. He's been in literally almost every car now by this point, and he always gives it a go, even though it's not always
I like the references. Comparison. I like the cross comparison. Yeah, that's very good.
Even at McLaren, he still came out on top in some ways. If you look at it, being their only race winner in how many years?
Apart from Oscar Piastri.
Apart from Grand Prix race winner.
Yeah, all right.
And also he's got the personality to win over the public, and he'd win the public vote.
He'd be scranning some, genitalia of like an ox or something like that. I can see him doing that.
And he's still laughing, going, oh.
Yeah. I mean, he's I was about to say he's got the mouth for it, but that just sounds really dodgy. But yeah, who's doing badly? I mean, it's a bit unfair to sort of put Hamilton in there because of his veganism and how you are eating animals half the time. But I think he would.
He could get off very lightly if he goes in and they make allowances for him. He could be getting...
I mean, they have ruled people out of certain challenges due to it was medical grounds in the past.
They've adapted people for veganism in the eating challenges, where they only give them something that's not containing animals.
Was it Boy George who was vegan?
Yes, I think so. And he had like vomit fruit, like.
Oh no, that's even worse.
Yeah, but he had like vomit fruit smoothies and stuff like that.
Okay, so say you were in the jungle yourself as well. So we've all made it as big F1 broadcasters, and one of us has gone into the jungle. Which of the drivers would you not want to have in your camp at all?
Oh gosh, that's hard. George Russell.
Really?
Yeah, just don't think we'd get on, and I don't.
He'd be hugely in support of maybe one of the candidates going on there this year. Is that what you're trying to allude to here?
I think he'd be good. He'd be nice and tight with one of the candidates this year. And I just think he'd be too like OCD, and I'm just not exactly a tidy person, and I can't see him being the best at challenges with spiders and that.
the spider just turned into him, that's all.
I think I could see them screaming. Charles Leclerc's got a phobia of snakes. So have I, but Charles Leclerc, have you seen the videos of him when he was in Alfa Romeo and he had the snake around his neck?
And he's like running around and stuff like that.
He would not be good. Neither would I, so...
No, fair enough. No, there's that video of him is it the monkey as well, where he's in that zoo and he's like sprinting around this, like, because something's chasing him. I think it's a monkey, but yeah.
I think Max would be pretty bad.
Oh, he'd be horrendous, wouldn't he?
I think he would.
He'd be good at the challenges.
He'd be good at the challenges, but he'd be such a diva.
Really? I think he would just be so bored out of his mind.
Yeah.
You know, one of the thing is quotes, you know, about I felt like a clown sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to come here to race about the Vegas stuff.
He wouldn't care about the team as well. He would do all the challenges and then all the stars just enough for him to have a really nice meal, and then he wouldn't care. He'd walk back into camp after a lovely meal. They've all had their beans and rice, and he just wouldn't care. He'd be walking around thinking he is, you know, the dogs, whatever.
Well, he just want to go home, I think.
Yeah.
He just wouldn't care. He wouldn't show any personality. He'd just be like, why am I here, basically? I think Valtteri Bottas would be
he'd be great.
Quite good. I think,
great.
I think some of the stuff you're eating on there could just be his normal sort of cuisine.
Yeah, I mean, he's a strange
guy.
book. He's now got his new calendar coming out. I mean, obviously it's for charity, so that's great. But yeah, he sort of seems like he's up for anything.
Yeah, I feel like the public vote wouldn't be incredibly kind to him.
No, because he's a bit too sort of chill, isn't he? He's not got much of that personality.
But he could win over people.
Yeah, I think an underdog in it as well is Oscar Piastri.
No, I'm the opposite.
I think he seems like, you know, one of the ones where they're a YouTuber and they're only like in for the demographic of the younger ones, but they come in and they're actually, you get to know them and they're really nice. And
or he could be like, who was it? Oh no, never mind. I was thinking that was his name, Jack Maynard.
Jack Maynard, he got done for racism.
That was racism. I thought he left because he just couldn't hack it. Never mind, it was for racism, wasn't it? Never mind. No, I don't think that of Oscar Piastri.
He did murder his girlfriend.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oscar Pistorius.
Oscar, yeah, no, I can't believe that happened. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I don't think Oscar Piastri's a racist. Let's get that out of the way. But I think he would be a bit sort of, I don't know. I think he'd isolate himself quite a bit, and he'd be a bit boring to be around. And then the challenges as well. I mean, he's also Australian, so maybe he's just seen it all before. I think he'd be one of them that would sort of say if like a snake is on the camp floor, because that happens a lot when they're just sort of sleeping, and the snake comes in out of nowhere. He'd just sort of like kick it or something.
Like,
you know.
Jesus Christ.
I think Yuki Tsunoda would be pretty bad. I couldn't imagine him with some of the food.
I think because he loves his food, doesn't he? So he couldn't hack anything ridiculous.
He wouldn't be able to do it. I think a lot of drivers
and
like
he'd just be swearing.
he would get on my nerves, I think.
I reckon Esteban would be quite good. I don't think he'd get very many votes because I think he would end up being, he's
fallen out with
He's fallen out with all his teammates, so we'll say that.
I don't think that, I think Esteban would be
but I think he'd be good at challenges and things like that. I reckon he'd be okay at that. I think he's very competitive and I think he'd even if he didn't want to, he'd do stuff just because I'm better than you. So
I think Fernando Alonso would be the best of all the drivers. Fernando would be. I think he'd be like the dad of the camp sort of thing, and he'd sort of, like that. It was when like Nick Knowles did it a few years ago. The DIY SOS guy. He was sort of like the dad of the camp. Sorry, Seb, you haven't seen any of it, but I've only really watched one season, as I said off air. I'm not a super fan like Amy is. But
I wouldn't say it was super fan. It's just nostalgic, but I think Lando Norris would win over the British public as well.
Not me.
Oh, I think he'd get on everyone's nerves a bit.
No, I think he'd be. I was watching a video and it was like who's going to do well this Las Vegas Grand Prix, and they were like the F1 puppies would not be able to handle it, and I was like F1 puppies, and they explained like kind of what that meant. It was like Lando, Charles, Pierre, and it was like the type of the dog off up to go squirrel, and that's what they're gonna be like with all the lights, like lights, like they're just gonna be too like taken over by it all.
No, that's an interesting prediction.
Now.
I mean, you put them on the Las Vegas Strip, even in a car or out of a car, they will get distracted. Or I think the lights will be a bit mental. I think it'll keep them awake at least as well. But we are running out of time on the show now. We have surprisingly dragged out that I'm a Celeb clip or segment far longer than I thought it would be possible to. But we'll do some sort of more quickfire stuff now. We've got Abu Dhabi as the final race of the season. What's it going to look like going into Abu Dhabi? Are there any sort of midfield championship battles that we can keep an eye on? Is P2, P10, of course.
P10, Lance Stroll, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon. Yeah. All fairly close. Any one of them with a good result could clinch P10.
It's great that. I thought you meant in the constructors then, because there's also P10 in the constructors.
There is P10 to P7 in the constructors, isn't there? Which is all up for grabs, obviously. More so Williams and AlphaTauri for P7. Pretty close.
That's
there.
A lot of money. That the teams can win. Money that Williams certainly need more than AlphaTauri does.
30 points between Perez and Hamilton before the last two races. That's almost done now, isn't it?
I think Perez will come out P2. I mean, because Vegas, this sort of race will sort of play to his strengths.
But then Fourth, fifth, and
tyre warm up. We'll see about that. He's really quite, gentle.
Yeah.
He is the tyre god, though. That's sort of umbrellas to everything to do with tyres. Like Perez in sort of adverse tyre conditions is usually quite reliable, I'd say.
4th, 5th, and 6th has got 6 points between them. So Fernando's on 198, Lando's on 195, and then Carlos is on 192. So it'll be interesting to see who comes.
I think Lando should come out on top. He's obviously got, I think, the quickest package out of those.
Yeah.
At least over both races combined. Ferrari might be on top on one race, but overall, you'd think that McLaren and Norris should be able to get that done, which is really impressive. If you compare it, I think it's his best season in F1, I think.
Definitely.
And it feels like a bit of a coming of age, sort of maturing year for him as well.
He was my driver of the season prediction as well, so I'll take that. I'll take that.
I think he was mine as well.
I think I probably went for Pierre Gasly.
I think he did, actually, yeah. Right, we've got 1 minute left until we will probably be thrown out of this studio, so let's all round it off. This is possibly goodbye for the last time live, but don't go anywhere next week. We will be here just pre-recorded, so it might be even better than usual. Just don't expect as much music like you're going to get now. Here's some Aztec Camera. Thanks for tuning in. Follow the Instagram.